Have you watched a Kamala Harris town hall? Have you watched her answer questions about policy? I'd watched clips about her. I'd watched her Twitter account. I'd never forced myself to sit through a whole Kamala Harris campaign event. So I did. I did it for you guys. And I am going to show you what a Kamala Harris town hall looks like. So now this is from today. She did this event with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, yes, the one that lost by 70%, her seat, yes, her. They're out campaigning together all day today. Wonderful, right? So this is a town hall that Kamala Harris did with Liz Cheney. And I want to remind you guys before I show this to you. Last week, Donald Trump did a town hall and he stopped it after 5 questions because there was a medical emergency with 2 separate people in the audience. And they played music and that was about it. Trump has been roasted. Oh, he has no energy. He's lost. He's standing on the stage. No. In this town hall, Kamala Harris answered, are you ready for this? 2 questions. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2 questions. And I'm about to show you how vapid and the lack of substance Kamala Harris is. I mean, oh my God, I don't even know how to describe this. But I'm going to be fair. So I'm going to give you the full answer to each question that Kamala Harris gives. Now, I'm going to warn you. Kamala Harris takes 5 minutes to answer a question and says absolutely nothing. I've never seen anybody with the gift of being able to talk forever and talk about nothing as well as she does. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the first question that she answered and her answer. And then we're going to talk about it. I'm telling you, it takes about 5 minutes. If you want to skip over her answer, I would. There's pretty much nothing in it other than what I'm going to tell you at the end. You can skip about 4 or 5 minutes ahead in this video and you will be just fine. You will have missed nothing but a bunch of rambling. But here you go.
Main section right there. Hi, Alexandra.
Hello. Hello, Madam Vice President and Representative Cheney. Thank you
there.
for taking my question today. My name is Alex. I have a 7-year-old son and a wonderful 72-year-old mother who is suffering from dementia and requires full-time care. Yeah. My son is in 2nd grade. My mother is in a nursing home, and I work full-time. The costs of childcare and of elder care are staggering, but simultaneously, the professionals that help care for both our children and our elders are generally underpaid, which makes it difficult for them to support their own families and do the jobs that they need to do. How do you propose to help bridge this gap, making both child and elder care more affordable for hardworking families, and also retaining and attracting quality talent for these essential jobs?
So first of all, you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with a lot. And I just wish you strength and support. You are a part of what we call the sandwich generation, which are those parents and children who are right in the middle. They are taking care of their young children and taking care of their parents as they age. And it's a lot. And so I actually plan to address this in a substantial way because I actually bring a personal experience to it as well. I took care of my mother when she was sick. And that work is the work of trying to cook something that they feel like eating, right? Trying to figure out which clothes will not irritate their skin and help them put on a sweater. It's about trying to figure out how you can say something that brings a smile to their face or makes them laugh. It's about dignity. Meanwhile, you have a 2nd grader. You try and teach that kid how to read. Spending time with them, reminding them they are special and can be anything. And in the middle of all of that, if you are working, or just to have a minute to breathe, it's a lot. It's a lot. So what the way that this plays out for many people is it's one of just a couple of ways. One, if you have the good fortune of having enough extra money, you can hire somebody to come in, and then exactly as you said, you, knowing what you just shared with us about yourself, would pay them the value of their work. Or someone in this position would have to basically spend down all their savings so they could qualify for Medicaid, which means they pretty much have to give it everything. Or they have to quit their job, which means one less income in their household. And this issue for me is a matter of dignity. Yours, your parents, and the well-being of your child. And you being able to do what you naturally want to do, and the thing that we should value in our society, which is someone like you who is taking on the duty and the responsibility of all of that. So my plan is that instead of those scenarios I just mapped out, we will restructure it so that Medicare covers the cost of in-home health care for your parent so that they can be at home and you can then have the assistance with someone who can help prepare that meal, help them get dressed, and you can still give that baby of yours all the love that they deserve, and you can have sanity in the process, and everyone can have dignity. And so this is my approach, which is let's just look at this let's just come at it from common sense, by the way. It's just common sense. And what is a common sense, practical approach to doing this? Because when you are able to be productive, we all benefit, by the way. When that child is able to have a parent who is able to help them with their reading and remind that child that they are special, we are all going to benefit from that. So thank you for raising the subject. Thank you. And you take care of yourself.
Okay, next we're going to call on Ashley Scott. Speaking of Gen Z, although I guess I shouldn't assume I know what generation she's from.
Okay, that was really hard for me to get through, and I promise you, I cut it and edited it to fit it into this video. So, I mean, I feel your pain after having to listen to that. But let me tell you something. Kamala Harris says that what she's going to do is restructure Medicare. That's her words. Restructure Medicare to pay for home health aides, to go in and help families who are caring for older people. I'm going to tell you right away that that's absolute horseshit, and she's not going to do that, and I know why. Because I work in home health. I'm a therapist, and Medicare right now is making gigantic cutbacks in the home health industry. Cutbacks on nursing and physical therapy. Why do I know this? Because it affects me. This is what I do for work. I know they're doing cutbacks because idiots like Joe Biden have been putting their fingers in the Medicare pie. They've been taking the money. They've been allocating the money. Medicare is starting to shorten a number of approved visits for home health care professionals who are doing very, very important things like nursing, physical therapy after a hospital stay, occupational therapy after a hospital stay, or a surgery. These are being cut because Medicare has no money. There is no money for this to happen. She cannot restructure Medicare. The only way that this could happen is if she started pulling money from all the billions, hundreds of billions in aid, in foreign aid, and bringing them back to Medicare. I will tell you how to solve this problem right now. I will tell you how to fix healthcare in America, and it starts with Robert Kennedy Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again agenda. You have to stop people from becoming morbidly obese. Morbid obesity is the culprit, and all the diseases that are related. You cannot have a country that lives the way that we do, with the number and severity of chronic disease that we have, and expect that you're not going to be spending trillions of dollars in healthcare every year. Obesity-related illnesses alone, on average, are close to $300 billion a year in taxpayer money. That's what it costs us for bills to health insurance, to Medicare, and then out of pocket. So all of that. we're spending over $300 billion a year. That's why you can't afford a home health aide with Medicare. That's why you can't afford to have the therapy and the nursing that you need. Now, one other thing that I want to say about this. Kamala Harris is making a promise with no plan. You can't just say, I'm going to restructure things with something as complicated as Medicare. That isn't how this works. If you disrupt Medicare, then you're going to disrupt millions of jobs. You better have a very, very, very detailed plan. And by the way, people who are on fixed incomes who can't afford to hire somebody to help them when they're old, if you stopped taxing Social Security like Donald Trump has said he's going to do, then you might not have that issue. All right. Here's the second and final question that Kamala Harris answered. I still can't believe that I'm saying this. After all the crap they gave Donald Trump last week for answering 5, she answered 2 questions. Wow. Here's this question. I'm going to let you see the question and the answer. Once again, it's about 5 minutes of absolute drivel, except in this case, she doesn't even answer the friggin' question. So, here you go.
Gen Z, although I guess I shouldn't assume I know what generation she's from, but she is a student from Bucks County. Hi.
Hi, Vice President Harris and Congresswoman Cheney. My name is Ashley Scott. I'm from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and I am Gen Z. I'm 22 years old.
Nailed it.
So thank you for that compliment. But yeah, my question is about maternal health. Specifically in the United States, maternal mortality is devastating. The rates are terrible. And I was wondering if you have a plan to combat the crisis.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for being here and your voice. It's a big issue. So we have the very, I think, shameful distinction of any wealthy nation having one of, if not the highest rate of maternal mortality. And I've studied this issue. I worked on it when I was in the United States Senate and as vice president. And the fact is that 90% of them are preventable, which tells us we can do something about it, right? And it is an issue. So black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth. Native women are like twice as likely. Rural women, 1.5 times likely. One of the common threads that you will see in those demographic populations is a lack of appropriate prenatal care, and then care during the term of their pregnancy, and then postpartum care. And we know that when that care is available, they are having a healthier and, by the way, happier experience. And the long-term impact to all of us as a society, much less to that family, is immense. And so the work that we have been doing and the work I intend to do going forward is to address that, right? So, for example, in rural America, the way that the system has been structured, the healthcare system has been structured, is a lot of those hospitals and clinics have had to close because of the way we reimburse based on population size. And as people are leaving rural America, then the hospitals and the clinics can't afford the overhead. I'm oversimplifying, but just to make the point. So we need to address that in terms of how we're structuring, how we create incentives and give the resources to those healthcare facilities, be they clinics or hospitals. The other piece that we have to do is really just talk more about the issue around also how in the healthcare system we are treating women. And are we taking women seriously when they talk about their healthcare concerns? So again, personal experience, my mother had 2 goals in her life: to raise her 2 daughters, my sister and I, and to end breast cancer. My mother was a breast cancer researcher. And she was so passionate about women's healthcare. And I remember it as a young girl and throughout my life. And we still have a lot of work to do to make sure that when she walks into that clinic, that doctor's office, that hospital, that she's taken seriously. And that's also about what we do in terms of training within the profession. It's also about what we do in terms of public education to get information to women so that they know that they are not just complaining and they should not suppress or subordinate what their concerns might be about themselves because they're taking care of everybody else. So there's a lot of work to do. And of course, there's a connection between this and what we need to do since the Dobbs decision came down. When we are looking at I've met with a lot of, in particular, OBGYNs who are concerned that there are young people going through their medical school who are now feeling deterred from engaging in reproductive health work. And reproductive health work is vast. It is not only about abortion. It is about a whole array of care. And we want to make sure that we're not creating disincentives for people to go into that very, very important profession. And then we also want to make sure that we are, in the whole issue of reproductive care, not suggesting to women or the people who love them that they should be judged. Because there is that also when you're talking about reproductive care, where women sometimes are made to feel or do feel embarrassed to talk about their needs as it relates to their reproductive health. And then, of course, I feel very strongly the government should not be telling any woman what to do with her body. And when Congress passes a law reinstating the reproductive freedoms of women, I will gladly and proudly sign it into law, because I strongly believe one does not have to give up or abandon their own faith or beliefs to agree that not the government telling her what to do. If she chooses, she will consult with her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government. We've seen too much harm, real harm, happen to women and the people who love them around our country since that decision came down, including women who have died. And I don't think that most people who, before the Dobbs decision came down, who had strong opinions about this, I don't think most people intended.
Okay, so she turned that into, the maternal, the maternal death into abortion. That's what she turned that into. So, one of the big causes of maternal death, and there's a reason that black women and Native women have more of an issue with this, and the reason is not that the healthcare is unequitable to them. One of the major reasons is that the black community and different, what do they call them, communities of color, don't trust doctors. Not only that, they don't go to doctors. Not only that, their diet, on average, is far, far worse. Rates of type 2 diabetes, which is, by the way, an enormous risk factor during pregnancy, are much higher in the black community. The comorbidities, high blood pressure, is much more common in the black community, which I'm giving myself right now having watched this town hall. These rates of chronic illnesses are one of the big underlying causes of maternal death during pregnancy. But did you notice she didn't answer that question? She didn't. She said, we're going to do something with rural hospitals and such. I worked for a major healthcare network at a rural hospital. We covered, well, there were two hospitals. One was the main hospital where I spent most of my time, and then we had a rural hospital that we also covered. That rural hospital lost a crap ton of money. The big hospital system basically used it as a tax write-off. But that's all it's ever going to be. But that really isn't the issue. Most people who are pregnant do not take proper care of themselves. And that is a fact. Sometimes, they'll do their doctor visits and whatnot. A lot of them don't take the vitamins they're supposed to. Their diet is horrendous. They give in to pregnancy cravings, which I understand is difficult, and I know that's a sensitive topic, but if you gain like 60 or 70 pounds during pregnancy, something needs to change. Like, I understand it's difficult. I understand you're going through something that I could never comprehend. But what you have to do for yourself and for the health of your baby is you got to control yourself a little better than that. I'm flabbergasted by the fact that they turned this into an equity thing. But really, she didn't say a thing. She didn't answer the question. She didn't tell you how she's going to fix this problem. That's because she doesn't know. Her policy is, we'll work toward this. Well, great. Work toward it. What are you going to do? Oh, nothing. Shortly after this question was answered, Liz Cheney gave her support to Kamala, and then she said something about, oh, we've got to make sure that we get out and vote, and then they ended it. Now, I'm going to tell you, The video that I've linked in the description to this full town hall, Kamala Harris had this event planned for 1 hour. At minute 17 and a half, she walks in. The person in charge, the state rep, whoever it is, proceeds to fillet her for about 10 or 15 minutes. They then answer questions for 10 minutes. Then they fillet each other for the rest of the time and walk out with 4 minutes left of the hour. That's how this went. And they're talking about Donald Trump answering 5 questions and then having a medical emergency, so he had to end the town hall. Are you nuts? This is what a Kamala town hall looks like, and I wanted to give you guys a look. I hope you enjoyed this video, or at least that it didn't give you high blood pressure like it did to me. Yeah. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.